Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be on highlighting and contouring. As you can see, the picture on the left is before I highlighted and contoured, and the picture on the right is after, so hopefully you see a difference there. So I'm going to start off the look today with pretty much a full face of makeup, even my foundation. So I am using MAC Studio Fix Fluid in NC25 that is all over the skin already, and then we're going to get right into the highlighting part. So for this, I'm going to use MAC's Prolongwear Concealer in NC20. I'm applying it underneath the eyes in a upside down triangle shape, just like this, and I'm being very generous with this. Obviously, this is not going to be a very natural look, so definitely you're going to need some extra time if you want to include this in your makeup routine, so at least 10 extra minutes. Now to blend out the highlight, I'm going to use a wet sponge. This one is by a brand called Fantasy. Usually my favorite sponge is the Beauty Blender, but I saw this one and I noticed that the squishiness and softness was really similar to the Beauty Blender, so I decided to try it out, and it's pretty awesome, and it's only $4, so I am really liking it. Anyway, whenever you use the sponge, make sure you wet it and then squeeze out all the water. That way it won't absorb all your product, and it also blends out the makeup really beautifully. So I'm just making sure we don't have any harsh lines here. Now, since we want the eyeshadow to look smoked out and make sure there's no harsh lines, I'm going to use just a clean brush to smoke it out a little bit more. And now into contouring, I'm going to use MAC's Prep and Prime highlighter in the color Deep Dark. You can use any darker concealer or foundation, and I'm creating a line right where my cheekbone is. So what contouring does is pretty much creating shadows on your face to make certain areas look smaller or kind of hide them a little bit. So I am going to apply it around the hairline, also on the jawline, a little bit on the nose. I don't go too crazy with the nose, I just do a little bit on the sides of the nose. That's when I do it, because I hardly ever do this, but if you want, you can definitely do that, and it's just going to make your nose look a little bit more narrow. And I'm going to blend it out again with a beauty sponge. Make sure again that you wet your sponge, that way it doesn't absorb all your product, and it blends it out really nice when it's wet or kind of damp, so make sure you squeeze out all the water. And when you're blending it out, you want to kind of bounce it on the skin. You don't want to rub like I'm doing it here, because then it's going to kind of remove the product. So I think I was getting a little anxious in that area. I don't know what happened, but yeah, bounce it around the skin and make sure you blend it out really good. Make sure there's no harsh lines, no patchiness or anything like that. But if there's a little bit, it's okay, because we're going to go over it with powder anyway. But you want to just blend it out as good as possible. So it does take a little bit of time. So be patient and blend away. Remember, this is definitely not like an everyday kind of look. It can be, but it's definitely not natural. So you could totally contour and highlight just with powders, but today we're doing a little extra step just to make it a little bit more intense, and also by layering products on top of each other, it's going to make it last longer. So here I'm doing creams first, and then we're going to set everything with powders. As you were blending, if your contour got a little too low for your liking, what you can do is totally fix it by applying some of that concealer that you used for highlighting. You're going to want to apply a line right underneath the contour, and this is really going to clean it up, and also it's going to sharpen it a little bit, so it's going to look a little bit more fierce, more cut, you know, if that's what you want. So I went ahead and did that on both sides, and then I'm going to blend it out again with that sponge. Okay, after everything is nice and blended, we want to set everything with powder. So the first powder I'm going to use is MAC's Mineralize Skin Finish Natural in the color medium, because it is a little bit lighter than my skin tone, so it's perfect to set my highlight. As you can see, this powder is so beautiful. It really kind of diffuses everything, and it just looks very almost radiant underneath the eyes. So a lot of people like to bake It's not really for me because my skin's a little bit more on the dry side, so I find that applying powder underneath my eyes and letting it sit there for a while, it actually accentuates the fine lines, and I really don't want to do that. So that's why I like this powder. It's a little bit more natural and really pretty. So now I'm going to set the rest of my face with the same type of powder, except this is in my color, medium golden, and I'm just using a big fluffy brush to do that, and really avoiding the areas where I highlighted because we don't want to get rid of the highlight, of course. And then to set the contour, I'm going to use MAC's Matte Bronze with an angled brush, and I'm just going to apply this bronzer in the hollows of my cheek, pretty much anywhere where we applied the contour shades. So you want to make sure you use a more cool tone bronzer for this part, that way it actually creates that shadow that we want. If it's too orangey, then it won't work out as much, but it really will kind of warm up the skin anyway. So yeah, if you want to contour, make sure you use a more cool tone shade. Now if you want a little more, you want your contour a little bit more intense, you can always take a blending brush, just like an eye blending brush, and apply that color on the hollows of the cheeks, and it's just going to make it a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more contoured. And actually this brush is really nice to set the contour on your nose. So now for highlight, I'm going to use Anastasia Beverly Hills in So Hollywood. This is such a pretty highlight color. I'm just going to apply this on the top of my cheekbones, and remember, anything that you highlight, especially with the shimmer, this is going to kind of stand out way more than it would without it. So I'm just going to apply that on the hollows, definitely not hollows, on the cheekbones, also on the bridge of the nose, and on the cupid's bow. You know, everybody wants that pouty look, so kind of helps it. And then I'm just taking that blending brush, actually the contour brush, just to kind of blend it out a little bit so they can look more kind of diffused. Now I'm just taking Fix Plus and spraying it all over my skin, like a lot. I really like shower in it. And then once it kind of starts setting, I just take the beauty sponge and really kind of push everything into the skin. This just takes away the powdery look, and everything just looks more kind of melted into the skin. Now this is my before little clip of before highlighting and contouring, and then the after. Hopefully you guys liked this video. Hopefully you learned something, or you know, just kind of had fun watching it. Anyway, if you guys have any kind of requests or anything, let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.